Tiny Experiments is a book about how to live a more experimental life. It explores how we can go from having rigid, linear goals and a very narrow definition of ambition that is based on what society is expecting from us to something a bit more fluid, more authentic, and based on being curious, on asking questions instead of trying to feel like we're in control, instead of trying to have certainty. It's really about embracing the fact that we don't really know where we're going. That's completely okay. That's an inherent part of being alive. And instead of having this anxiety, this overthinking, this choice paralysis, we can approach any doubt like a scientist by turning it into a research question and saying, what is a tiny experiment that I can design around this area of doubt in my life or in my work so I can find out more? So the main benefit of running tiny experiments to figure out what you actually want and what actually works for you is that you are going to end up being successful based on your own definition of success. So you don't have to experiment. You can just copy paste what other people are doing. And you might be successful if you do this. But the success you're going to have is the same kind of success everybody around you is having, or the kind of success people around you are expecting you to pursue. When you experiment, this is opening a window for you to figure out what it is you actually want to do with your life. And yes, it's going to look a bit messier. It's going to be a bit more uncomfortable because you're not going to be able to just copy paste a blueprint from another person. But when you look back, when you're much older and you look back and you look at where you are in life, you can feel like, that was my path. This was my path. That was not a path I copy pasted from other people. So it's really what having an experimental mindset is all about. It's really embracing that messiness and trusting that you will figure out your own path. This is why the book is called Tiny Experiments and not big, overtaking your life experiments. So a tiny experiment. So the first tool that I talk about in the book that I think anyone can use is called a pact. So a pact is a commitment to experimentation. It's like a mini protocol for personal experimentation. The format it has is very simple. It's I will insert action for insert duration. And this is how you design this mini protocol. You say, I will do this action for a specific duration. And I'm going to withhold judgment for the duration of the experiment. I'm just going to complete it for the duration. So that could be something like, I will stretch every morning for 1 week. I will journal every Sunday for 6 weeks. I will meal prep every Monday morning for 2 months. I will action for duration. And you can do that for literally anything, for creativity, writing, your health routines, like going for walks or yoga or meditation. You can do this for your relationships. Also, I've seen people conduct this little experiments as a couple where they say with their partner, I will organize a date for my partner every Friday for the next 5 weeks. And again, you withhold judgment until you're done. And at the end, you look at the data, just like a scientist, and you ask yourself whether it worked, whether it didn't work, or anything you might want to tweak. So that's the first tool, very easy, very small. You can implement it with literally anything in your life. And it doesn't have to be very long. It doesn't have to be very big. It's very, very tiny. So that's one thing. The second thing that's very important is reflection. Because if you experiment and you don't spend the time to actually look at what happened and learn from it, then you're just going to go in circles. So making sure that you carve out some space for self-reflection is very important. A tool I share in the book for this is called plus minus next. It's very easy, 3 columns, plus minus next. The first column, you write everything that went well. And the second column, everything that didn't go so well. And in the last column, next with an arrow, you write everything you might want to experiment with next, what you might want to tweak, what you might want to try in your next cycle of experimentation. And this is how you create growth loops. Because instead of going in circle and repeating the same thing without learning from your experience, you make sure that for each cycle of experimentation, you learn from what went well and what didn't go so well. And you tweak it, you iterate, again, just like a scientist. The last little tool, and it's because you asked for 2, 3 of them, so I'm going to share a third one, which is completely optional, but I think makes experimentation more efficient and more fun, is to learn in public. So you can experiment on your own. It's completely fine to design your little pact, I will action for duration, and then do your plus minus next and keeping on iterating on your own. That's fine. But you will learn a lot better if you share what you learn with others before you feel like you're the expert. And there are so many ways to share. There, you don't have to have a big social media following or anything like that. It can be a small WhatsApp group with friends for experimenting together. It can be an internal newsletter at work. It can even be just having an experiment called buddy, someone like a co-with scientist. Like you create your mini lab and you decide that every Sunday we're going to catch up, grab coffee together, and you're going to tell me about your experiments. I'm going to tell you about mine. And when you do this, you're going to get feedback faster because people are going to share ideas or resources. Maybe they experimented with something similar in the past. But again, it's going to be a lot more fun also because you're going to see your progress a lot better when you have to share it with other people.